defense expert Major Mohammed Ali Shah, also with us on the program. Ali, your thoughts on what's happening? Obviously, the forces are making sure that what happened in Poonch is not repeated.
Right, Vineet, since you mentioned what happened in Poonch on 28th April when an army heavy vehicle was attacked, was ambushed, and we suffered some fatal casualties. So now to actually not just, I would not say to avenge that, but to clear that, a big operation was launched in that entire area. Now, on getting specific inputs in Rajouri sector, we had our special forces, the most elite, the paratroopers. They were detailed and we were out to nab them. Now, what happened when this operation was launched on Wednesday, 7:30 a.m.? I mean, again, there was when they had got specific information, an ID blast occurred, and as per what I learned from my sources, 2 paratroopers were wounded that time, and 3 later on. One major was wounded, who was leading that thing, the entire column, and the major is being treated, of course. And now later on, the 5 of them, they succumb to their injury. Now, the very fact beneath that, what you mentioned, what happened in Poonch should not be repeated, they deserve to be taught such a lesson that, make an example out of them. Because a combing operation is going on vastly and these militants would not be let go so easily. The seriousness is shown by our army commander landing up there, our chief going there, our defense minister coming there. So we can imagine the gravity of the situation. But let me assure everyone, people who would have I heard some people saying that, when an operation like that is going on, we should not have the interference of the top brass in that operation. I totally agree with them. 100%. What happens then is a person gets distracted. But let me assure everyone, it is not where the operation is happening and where the top brass is landing. The operation is happening in Rajouri. The top brass is coming to Jammu. There is quite a safe distance between the two. But soldiers are soldiers. If we have to, today my blood boils. Even though I'm not in uniform, I am trying to do my bit through your channel, through other channels, yes. But the soldier, his blood will boil, no doubt about it. I'll give you a small little example, Vineet. In the year 2003, 22nd July 2003 to be precise, there's a place called Akhnur, Tanda sector. Akhnur is the same place where one of the paratroopers who has been martyred belongs to, in fact. So in Akhnur and Tanda sector on 22nd July, there was an attack, a suicide attack by 3 armed militants on an EME battalion where they killed a brigadier from the EME, a very, very senior rank, and Lieutenant General Hari Prasad, who was the army commander, what General Upinder Dwivedi is today. Same position he was holding. He was wounded in that attack. Now, when an army commander is wounded, a brigadier is killed, you can imagine the gravity of that attack. And I was training in Chennai at that time, and my posting was issued a few days after that in the same sector where I was 100 meters away from where the EME battalion was attacked. And the moment I landed up there, a few days later, there was a very famous attack. It was covered widely by the media. I was a young lieutenant that time, just maybe 23 years old, on various channels. There was an attack on the Akhnur bridge. Now, we ended up, there's a very brave officer, then Lieutenant Thakur, now Colonel Thakur. I met him recently in Calcutta after many, many years. He entered the house personally, neutralized them, did a house entry drill, and cleared where the militants had entered, where they had killed the lady, they had killed the children, they had caused a lot of damage. So these incidents were very common at that time. They've become less now, no doubt. But the very fact they've become, you can call them stray incidents, because actually the valley and Jammu, the entire area, is more or less more peaceful. It actually is, Vineet. Take my word for it. A lot of people debate and argue on that, but the very fact that after abrogation of Article 370 and 35 Alpha, yes, there has been a lot of curb and control on the movement of these and the activities of these militants. These militants want to prove that no such curb has actually happened. And when we have India leading the G20, when we have the SU summit, Bilawal Bhutto Zardari, in fact the Pappu of Pakistan. I'm sorry to say this, but Pakistan has really appointed a clown as the foreign minister. When he comes here, and our minister, Mr. S. Shankar, rightly called him out. Initially, he was diplomatic. He slowly came up to it. Without naming anyone, he said about terror. We should not. Later on, he was point blank. He didn't mince his words. So the very fact that an incident like Poonch, which you said earlier, should not be repeated, an incident like what happened in Rajouri, just now should not be repeated. In fact, the entire area, the army and Totagali area of Bhata Dhuria, that is where the attack on the heavy vehicle had taken place. And that area, Vineet, I know that area on ground. I've patrolled there. It is very forested. And you'll not believe if I tell you, if a militant is hiding 1 meter away from you, 1 meter, you would not know his presence. And people will say, how can that be? If you are 1 meter away, you will not know where the ambush is. No, you would not know. I would urge people who would not believe this to go there on ground and see how thickly and heavily that area is forested. And they will know. I mean, imagine 1 meter away and you would not know the presence of a militant. In fact, there's another para officer who I know very, very, Brigadier Deep Bhagat. Yesterday, 5th of May, was his 25th anniversary where he almost survived death. He was 1 meter away, was a militant whose weapon could not fire because in the firing, the militant's weapon had got damaged. As a result, when the militant pulled the trigger, he could not fire upon the young officer. Now a retired brigadier, he's working with a multinational company in Mumbai. That's a different thing. So these incidents were very, very common earlier. They have become less, no doubt.